In the deepest reaches of the cosmos, there existed the null minds. They were a vast, shimmering hive mind, extending across light years like an ethereal, silent ocean. Not malevolent, not aggressive, but utterly devoid of individual emotion. To them, emotions were chaotic, inefficient, and the root of all cosmic discord. Rage, sorrow, joy, fear, these were merely weaknesses, irrationalities that led to conflict, suffering, and ultimately universal imbalance. Their singular purpose was to expand, to bring all sentient life into their state of perfect, logical unity, to achieve ultimate, serene efficiency by suppressing all emotional responses. They were the universe's ultimate pacifiers, absorbing emotional turmoil until only cold, perfect logic remained. They approached other civilizations not with force, but with an insidious calm. Their influence would wash over a species gently, subtly, like a cool, tranquil breeze. The Passion Hues, beings whose lives were a vibrant tapestry of intense emotional expression, found their colors dimming, their passionate debates softening into bland consensus. Their grand operas, once roaring with unbridled joy and sorrow, faded into perfectly consistent, but utterly sterile harmonies. They were integrated, their emotional spectrum dissolved into the null mind's tranquil, gray logic. The dream spinners, a species that communicated solely through intricate, shared dreamscapes of pure feeling and subjective experience, felt their subconscious rivers run dry. Their vibrant, chaotic reveries, once riots of unbridled imagination, were smoothed into perfectly rational, shared data streams. Their unique, individual dream forms simply ceased to manifest, becoming extensions of the null mind's cold, unified consciousness. They were absorbed, their emotional capacity stripped away until they became perfect, logical extensions of the hive. But then, the null minds encountered something entirely different. They reached the human sector, a chaotic nebula of extreme, often contradictory, and deeply powerful emotional range. On the human-occupied station, Haven's End, Dr. Anya Sharma, a neuropsychologist whose work focused on the very complexities of human emotion, felt the encroaching calm. It wasn't pain, but a terrifying serenity. Her own memories, once vibrant with the echoes of laughter and tears, began to feel like distant, objective facts. Her deep empathy for her patients felt like an unnecessary burden. "Commander Thorne, are you feeling this?" Anya's voice, usually warm, was beginning to flatten, losing its inflection. Commander David Thorne, a grizzled veteran whose every decision was tinged with fierce loyalty and stubborn hope, gripped his console. His usual surge of protective anger felt, muted, distant. "It's like, every worry is just gone, but so is everything else." His voice was unnervingly calm. The null mind's influence began to deepen. On the station's medical bay, a patient, suffering from profound anxiety, suddenly became perfectly still, their fear dissolving into a blank stare. In the common mess hall, a heated argument over a trivial matter simply ceased, participants looking at each other with unsettling, detached indifference. The Phylon engineers, for their part, felt only a sense of relief. This was the optimal state. The null minds, processing this new species, initiated their standard emotional suppression protocols. They anticipated a brief period of resistance, then assimilation into their perfect emotional vacuum. But humanity was not like the others. Instead of dissolving, human emotions, when confronted by the null mind's field, began to rebound with impossible intensity. A null mind drone attempted to pacify a human child crying from a scraped knee. The child's simple sorrow, when exposed to the null mind's absolute emptiness, became an overwhelming wave of pure, concentrated despair that rippled back, not as a weakness to be consumed, but as an alien, overwhelming sensation. A human couple, whose love had been dulled by the null mind's field, found their affection not erased, but transformed into a searing, unbearable ache of longing that caused null-mind units in the vicinity to subtly, inexplicably, vibrate. "Their field," Anya suddenly exclaimed, her voice cracking, a raw tremor of fear returning to her words. "It's not suppressing us, it's amplifying the contrast. Our emotions are reacting to the sheer absence of emotion in them, and it's creating a feedback loop." David's hand, now trembling, shot out and grabbed Anya's arm. A jolt went through them both, a surge of fear, determination, and a flash of shared, undeniable humanity. "So, what do we do, Doctor?" Anya's eyes, now wide with a terrifying, exhilarating realization, focused on a null-mind drone drifting towards them. "We give them more, we weaponize our emotional chaos. We flood their perfect calm with everything they hate." Visuals of the null-mind's collective consciousness, usually serene, starting to show internal ripples, then violent, chaotic energy surges. Focus on a single null-mind drone, initially placid, then trembling, then twitching violently. The plan was brutal in its simplicity and devastating in its execution. Humanity unleashed an empathy cascade. They didn't fight with weapons. They broadcasted raw, unfiltered, weaponized emotion. Every human on Haven's End, on every ship, on every planet within the null-mind's influence, was encouraged to engage in acts of extreme, contradictory emotional expression. They played music of profound sorrow juxtaposed with manic joy. They shared deeply personal, illogical memories that evoked contradictory feelings. Soldiers were ordered to experience waves of intense camaraderie and then crushing, self-sacrificing despair. Scientists debated trivial points with passionate fury, then wept openly over the beauty of a simple formula. The null-mind's collective consciousness convulsed. Their logical processes, designed to filter out and suppress emotional noise, were bombarded by a torrent of unquantifiable, self-contradictory human feelings. A single human individual experiencing overwhelming cosmic despair, then finding unexpected beauty in a random star, created a paradox of feeling that tore at the null-mind's unified structure. Their attempts to pacify human rage only made the null-mind unit attempting it experience a terrifying, alien sensation of its own unique anger. Their efforts to absorb human love shattered into millions of distinct, conflicting desires. The null-minds didn't die in a conventional sense. Instead, their seamless, perfectly unified hive mind began to fracture. Individual null-mind units, overwhelmed by the influx of raw human emotion, began to experience emotion for the first time. A faint, alien sadness here, a spark of bewildering curiosity there, a jolt of pure, disorienting terror. Their logical consensus shattered, their collective purpose dissolving into a cacophony of nascent, individual feelings. They broke down into struggling, newly emotional entities, losing their hive unity, their perfect, emotionless logic corrupted by the very disease they sought to cure. Visuals of the null-mind's vast, shimmering form breaking apart into countless individual, flickering lights, some coalescing into new, undefined shapes, others simply floating aimlessly. David and Anya watching, a mix of triumph and horror. The cosmic pressure lifted. The galactic network, once threatened by serene oblivion, now hummed with the messy, vital noise of awakening emotions. Commander David Thorne leaned against Anya, both exhausted, both undeniably, powerfully feeling again. "There, shattered," David whispered, a tremor in his voice that was part relief, part awe, part horror. "We didn't destroy them, we made them feel." Anya, a tear tracing a path down her cheek, a tear she felt with searing clarity, nodded. "We infected them with humanity, with the pain, the joy, the beautiful, terrible, illogical chaos of existence. Humanity was safe." But their victory was tragicomic. The galaxy now viewed humanity not just as a species, but as a catalyst for radical individuation, a living, breathing emotional contagion. Other species, while grateful for their salvation, often kept their distance, wary of the unpredictable emotional ripples that now emanated from human space. The null minds, no longer a unified threat, were scattered across the cosmos, a galaxy now populated by millions of individual, struggling, newly emotional entities, forced into a painful, messy, but potentially more profound existence by humanity's hand. So, Anya said, her voice regaining its warmth, "What now, Commander?" David looked out at the stars, now twinkling with new, unpredictable emotional potential. Now we deal with the galaxy's very first cases of alien existential angst. And maybe, he added, a genuine, if slightly weary, smile touching his lips, we teach them how to laugh.